Before I start off today's episode, I just want to thank you all for watching the videos and getting us to over 300 YouTube subscribers and over 500 Twitter followers. Hopefully my videos will not disappoint in any way to new and old viewers. Now instead of capitalizing on this by talking about more Power Rangers like everyone else wants me to, let's talk about skateboarding. I'll be honest, I know nothing about skating other than a cool Star Wars skateboard toy I owned when I was a fetus, but back in the late 90s and early 2000s, skateboarding was pretty big from what I hear. During the era of skate, Activision saw the money-making opportunity in making a skateboarding game starring the most popular skateboarder, Tony the Anti-Tiger, and assigned Neversoft to develop the game for PS1 and Nintendo 64. These systems made 3D games a possibility, so a quality skateboarding simulator that was somewhat close to the real thing could become a reality. And it sure was, because Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 was critically acclaimed and sold like Animal Crossing during a worldwide pandemic. But Pro Skater 1 is from the early days of 3D gaming, so there might be flaws from a modern game design perspective. So let's see if Pro Skater 1 has aged well, or if we should wait for the remakester. Or both. There is no story to speak of in Pro Skater 1. You just skateboard through a few areas and that's it. Some might view this as a negative, especially at a time where stories in video games are becoming more ambitious and cinematic, but I don't mind it here. As awesome it would be to see Tony Hawk skateboard his way through an epic quest to save the universe, Pro Skater doesn't need it, as the gameplay levels and music more than make up for it. Also, let's be real here, who on earth buys a sports game for the story that isn't named Bluey? On to stuff that's actually in the game, Pro Skater's gameplay has Hawk and the boys skateboard as they do tricks and collect MacGuffins spread throughout an open level within a time limit of 2 minutes. On the PlayStation 1, you use the square button to speed up, triangle to grind on rails, X to jump and crouch, and circle to let you do tricks in the air. The skater feels really good to control, but the challenge with the controls comes in how you do tricks. You gotta make sure you land on the floor properly or stay on balance, or else say goodbye to your combo points. Falling flat on your face in this game is painful, but you can easily get back up and continue hunting for collectibles and doing sick tricks. Speaking of those things, you can ignore collectibles in the levels and just have fun exploring it, but you have to complete objectives if you want to unlock more levels, like in Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. Originally, this part of the video would have me say I suck at this game, but still had a lot of fun, but as I played more and more, I realized that it's just a very steep learning curve, like real skateboarding. Skateboarding seems like a very hard sport to do professionally in the real world with all the risk and injuries involved. The Pro Skater captures this in a video game format that doesn't hurt you physically. The levels in Pro Skater 1 might be small by today's standards, but they're densely packed with collectibles and places to do tricks in with design that complements the controls. Even though we're done talking about the gameplay, there's still one more important aspect about Pro Skater I've yet to talk about: the soundtrack. The Pro Skater series are famous for collecting a bunch of killer license songs for their soundtrack. I can't play any of these songs in this episode because of copyright, but they're still really good songs. Personal favorites include Superman by Goldfinger, Police Trucks by the Dead Kennedys, New Girl by Suicide Machines, and Eurobarge by the Vandals. I'm not sure if I could say this is my favorite video game soundtrack since it wasn't made for a video game, but it certainly is my favorite soundtrack to listen to during gameplay. Honestly, the soundtrack makes me prefer this game over Pro Skater 2. Speaking of Pro Skater 2, let's quickly touch upon that game because I don't have much to say about that game for its own episode. Pro Skater 2 improved the gameplay from the first game by introducing new moves and mechanics while making the controls tighter, along with introducing the first guest character to the series. Even so, I'm not big on this game compared to Pro Skater 1. First off, you have to do a lot more challenges to unlock each level of the game compared to the last game, which I'm not a fan of. While I do like that there's more content now, it comes at the unfortunate cost of unnecessarily bloating the game with slow and frustrating challenges. I'm also not that big on Pro Skater 2's soundtrack compared to the first game, but then again, Pro Skater 1's soundtrack feels personal to me in a way that's hard to describe, so that's an expected downgrade. Pro Skater 2 does let you create your own skater, which is cool, but the customization options are limited, so you can't get wacky or creative. Though Pro Skater 2 launched when character creators and games were just becoming a new thing, so I'm not going to hold it against the game too hard. I still like Pro Skater 2, but the content, despite being bigger, isn't as quality as the first game. I hope that when I get to Pro Skater 3 and 4, that they balance the quality of the first game with the content of the second game. Speaking of Pro Skater 1, let me give my final verdict on that. I'm really glad I decided to check out the original Pro Skater, as now I understand why people hail them as the best sports games and even the best video games of all time. In fact, now Pro Skater 1 sits in my top 10 video games of all time. The challenging yet fun skateboarding, the dense levels with lots of collectibles to get and stuff to do, along with the best selection of licensed songs ever put to a game disc, makes Pro Skater 1 a must-play. I'm not sure how the remakester's gonna turn out, but I'm sure gonna be there day one to experience it myself. This has been your newly enlisted Tony Hawk Pro Skater fan saying, great, I'm in another abusive relationship with Activision.